Well, hello, and thank you for tuning in to our Airsoft Charleston YouTube channel for some more quick tips. Today we're going to be talking about mid-cap AEG magazines, specifically for the M4 platform. Most of us would love to be running nothing but these PTS EPM1s. They're beautiful mags, mid-cap, 250 rounds. They're built like a tank and they run well, but they're also expensive. They also sometimes don't run in all of my AEGs, so I have found another solution, and it's the BAMF Gen 2 mid-cap magazine. It holds 190 rounds. Now, I've had a lot of people complain about these because when they first get them, they don't work well. Even though they hold 190 rounds, it doesn't feed properly, etc., etc. Well, I'm going to walk you through what I do with mine, and I've got at least half a dozen of these. I love them. They work very well. I even run them in my Keltec RDB17 as well as some M4s, so they feed very well once you clean them up. So, for a quick tip, I'm going to show you what I do on these guys. So, let's take a new one here, take it out, and as it comes, it's actually a beautiful mag. It's got a nice rubber bounce plate on it, so if it falls, if you're doing a quick mag change, it should protect it. This window on the back means absolutely nothing. It's actually designed for their flash mag, 450 round high capacity mag, which is why this plate moves forward. Now the problem is this plate moves forward on the mid cap. It also jiggles, it kind of falls off and you lose it. Bad idea. I usually take a piece of electrical tape and wrap that, but that's not why we're here yet. So real easy, what we're going to go ahead and do is we need to go ahead and pop this pin out. There's a little retention pin in here. We're going to grab a punch. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take out this pin. Get this guy out. It goes in and goes out one way. It's got a thicker end on it right here. So if you notice that, I found that on these they're not as knurled as some of the other pins. So we're going to pop that guy out. And when we do, we can lift this out. Sometimes it'll catch on the inside here, if you'll notice on the window. So you kind of do a little jiggle, it gets right past it. So there's the shell. So what we've got is a really nice insert on this 190 round mid cap. Now it's actually well built, lots of screws in it. You'll notice a whole bunch of holes. These are all screws, but it doesn't flex at all. It doesn't creak, it doesn't pop. First thing we're going to want to do is take out the feeder spring in here, which is a little Phillips screw. Let's see here. Let's get the right Phillips bit here. We were working on something else earlier, so we're going to let's grab this one. Double check that. Yep. So first thing we're going to do is take out the feeder spring. I'm going to put that screw over here to keep it separate. Sometimes we have to jiggle this guy out a little bit here just to get him to pop out, just like that. So all I did was I kind of pressed it in and it's going to come out. Don't lose this piece. This goes in the end of the spring. When it comes out, it's going to be a little bit oily because they don't want it to rust in shipping and sitting. So we're going to go ahead and take this feeder spring all the way out. You're going to notice that it's kind of shaped rectangular. It's got a feeder piece here. When we went ahead and took this guy out, that pin looked like it was facing down. Doesn't matter top or bottom, either way. So we're going to set this guy off to the side here. We don't need him from now. And again, a little bit of oil on the fingers, and that's part of the problem. We want to go ahead and remove the oil that's in here. So first thing I'm going to do is I usually start from the bottom. And I go ahead and I start pulling out the screws, and just in case the screw sizes are different lengths, I will go ahead and kind of arrange them as I take them out. So when I take these guys out, I want to kind of keep them on the mat when I take them out. Yeah, listen to me. Doesn't want to follow. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and take these guys out and place them on the mat in the order of which I take them out, just in case one screw is different length than another. And again, this goes pretty quick here. get all these guys out. And I always do them one at a time, just because I don't want to take them all out and have one go flying. I keep them organized before they come out. A little bit snug, but not too bad. One of the things you're going to want to watch out for is do not over tighten them when you put them back together. You don't need Loctite. This is a metal screw going into plastic. It's supposed to be military grade plastic, but we'll see. It feels good. I haven't had any problem with any of these guys ever since I've gone ahead and bought them, as long as I've taken apart and cleaned them. So we're almost done. I'm going to keep those two top screws tight for just a second, because when I get to the end here of these, you're going to see that there is a stop in here, a BB stop with a spring on it. This keeps the BBs from flying out once you fill it. So we're going to be real careful when we split this apart. We do not want this stop or the spring to go flying out. So let's go ahead and get that. That guy goes over there. We've got one more up at the top here. And from all appearances, these screws are all the same size. Now I'm going to gently take this apart. Let's make sure we got one more screw in there. This one has more screws than most mid caps from what I found. That guy was a middle screw. So we're going to kind of hold it with our thumb. We're going to lift this side out, and then we're going to gently take this thing out so it doesn't go springing out everywhere. There we go. So we've got it apart, and the first thing we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to use some denatured alcohol. I'm just using some barrel cleaning squares. It's a flannel for this sort of thing. I don't usually use these in barrels unless the gun is out, just because they leave a little bit of, they can leave a piece of string out of there. So we're going to go ahead and go around the entire track and take out all the oil and all the little bits of plastic. By the way, you're going to notice, and there's a couple little pieces of plastic that are coming out of here, that there is little pieces of flashing and little pieces of plastic from the milling on here. And that's also, between that and the oil, that's what gets caught in here. So we're going to make sure that that's nice and clean. Usually I'll go ahead, once I run a cotton swab through there, I'll take a Q-tip, a real cotton swab, do this, go back through it from top to bottom, make sure all the areas where the BBs come in contact with is all nice and clean. Denatured alcohol does a beautiful job because it dries with no residue. And that side is done. We'll go ahead and take the little rocket blower to it. You can use canned air. I don't really like using canned air because you can get propellant, or you can get it to actually freeze. Side one is done. Let's go ahead and grab another patch. And again, this is something on a rainy day like we've been having here in Charleston lately. This is something you can go ahead and do when you're not out playing airsoft. And it's a huge benefit to making things work right when you're playing. There we go. That's looking better. It's always a good idea too to wipe down the top of these things, because I don't know if you noticed there's a little bit of oil film that had leaked through on this, and eventually it'll get back in there. The reason why you don't want to have oil in here too is it attracts dirt. Things stick to it, doesn't allow the BBs to flow, and if there's any dirt or oil on the BBs, they don't fly out of the gun very well either, do they? All right, let's go ahead and take one more cotton swab here. I'm just going to make sure that this one's perfect here. So whoever buys this from us, it's already done. Again, I just want to make sure that any place that there may have been a little bit of oil in there is all cleaned up. Take the dry end here, follow the rails around. There we go. That's looking really nice. A little bit of air, make sure I don't have any dust in there. or any pieces off the cotton swabs. Boom. All right. Okay. So we just finished cleaning everything up. Everything is nice and clean. Let's do one last thing before we put it together. I'm going to go to the clean side of this. We're going to also make sure that we clean off as much as we can of this oil. And we're going to do this very gently on this spring. This is why you see the threads coming off of it. This is also why I do not advise running these in a barrel when you're working on your gun. If the barrel is out, that's fine. I'm just going to go ahead and lightly, gently. I don't want to stretch the spring. I just want to knock off any of the oil that's on there. There we go. So that is set. Now, before we can put the spring in, we need to assemble the shells. And before we assemble that, we've got to have this little BB stop in place. It's got a little tiny spring and a mechanism on here to keep the BBs from spraying out of the magazine and releasing the BBs when we go ahead and we get this thing in a gun. So let's put that there. There we go. Now you notice it's in here. It's not sticking. It's nice and smooth. We've cleaned out the oil that was in here, so it's not going to be sticky. Works great. We're going to hold it closed, and we're going to run a couple of screws in here real quick, just so we can hold it together so that it doesn't fall out first before we pick it up or do anything else. So let's run one there. Run one there. Once these two are in, I don't have to worry about that falling out. So we got a lot more screws to put together first here. Let's go ahead and get all of our screws lined up here. And again, we know that they're all the same size, yay. So we're just going to go ahead and get them in place. Let's go ahead and get a couple of these screws run down here. This doesn't take very long. Again, this is a great activity on a rainy day when you can't go out and do airsoft. Come on inside, set up stuff on a table in a clean area, and go to town. Go ahead and get these guys cleaned out. It's also a good thing to do occasionally with your mid-cap magazines, even your high caps occasionally, is to take them apart, clean them up, and get any dirt, dust, grease, oil, whatever, schmutz out of there. One thing, and I know we talk about it in our other videos, but never, never, never reuse a BB. Because number one, it could be deformed, it could be missing a piece. The other thing is if BBs fall on the ground, chances are they're getting dirty, they're getting something on them. And you don't want to run that back through a magazine or a gun because it's not good for it and it won't fire well. All right, boom. So we've got all those guys done. Now we get to go ahead and put our feeder wire back through here. This is going to be what feeds the BBs in. So we're going to gently run this right back in here, real easy peasy. We're not doing anything rough. If it should stop for any reason, we want to be gentle with it. We're getting close to putting some serious pressure in here. So we're going to go ahead and come a little further. We're going to grab our tip that's going to go in here. So we're going to keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. Put it all the way in here. Boom. Take our last screw. Snug this guy down. Now our insert is done. We can hear the spring in there. Sounds good, feels good. There's nothing loose, there's nothing creaking. Now, part two, let's go ahead and assemble it. Remember, you've got a top and bottom too. This is the mag catch in your gun, so you're not going to come in from this way. Even though it can fit, don't do it. This is top. This is top. Clip them together. Now we're going to turn it back upside down. Take a look and feel this pin. We want to see if there's any rough edges or if there's a wider area, which there is. There's a little wider area right here. So that's going to go on the outside. We'll take that like that. I like using a little jeweler's hammer for this. Boom, we are in. Last but not least, we're going to go ahead and take our bottom plate. That snaps in here. For me, what I do is I normally take some electrical tape and just put it around there. It won't come off. It's fine. Something else to do, mark your magazines, by the way. Do yourself a favor. Put your initials on. There's places and dimples to make letters, your initials, whatever. So you can mark them, so if you drop them on the field, somebody else can find them. Well, now that we got that thing put back together, let's grab our Odin speed loader and let's fill it up. That's filling up really nice. That's really good. Now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to step in the other room and we're going to see how well it fires. Stay tuned. So we're going to go ahead and try this now in a gun that hates every magazine other than the Ares 130 round magazines. This is the Ares EMG Keltec RGB, yeah, RDB 17. Anyway, bullpup. Pop this guy in there. Squeeze off a couple of rounds. Not bad. Let's try it on a 3-round burst. That worked. So far, I'm going to drop a whole bunch of BBs out. It seems to be feeding just fine. Again, it seems to like it. Yeah, that's working. So at least we got this one cleaned up. It works better. So if you get one of these BAMF Gen 2s, again, put the tape on the bottom. This wants to fall off. But when you clean it out, it definitely runs a whole lot better. Thanks for watching and have a great day. See you on the airsoft field.